Today we're going to be looking at the Raksa iDet, which is a radio frequency detector with a number of functions. Before we get into it, I would like to extend a thank you to Romanus from Secotech. Secotech are an organisation that deal with these kind of products and many more, and they've kindly sent this over to me to unbox, review and demonstrate, so a massive thank you to them. Right, let's get into it. So I'm just going to take it out of its box now. Instruction manual. This is the device itself. It is tiny. This is the thing that strikes me immediately, the size of it. It's incredibly small. We'll put that to one side for the moment. And I'm guessing underneath here, yes, there is a charger which currently has the European charger with it, but of course can be used on adapters. So let's move the box to the side and take a look at the device itself. Alright, so the device comes in a little protective cellophane, so we'll take that off. Before we get into the functionality of it, let's take a look at some of its specifications. One of the unsuspecting thing about this device in particular is the amount of functions it has for something that's so small. Now, just to give you some, I know you've already seen me do this, but I can't quite get over it. Look, this is my hand. That's the size of it. It's absolutely tiny. So reason I'm showing you that again is because it has a number of very credible functions that are very, very useful. And I'm going to go over them initially as a list, just to kind of give you an overview of what they are. We'll delve into them a little bit deeper one by one. So the first one, it has a monitoring mode, it has a sweep mode, a search mode, a diffidence mode, or a difference mode, which is a little bit technical. I'm going to have to take some time explaining that one, try and articulate it in a way that's not too confusing, because if I'm being honest, it took me a little while to get my head around. It has the ability to monitor digital signals only, that meaning that you can isolate only digital signals as opposed to analog signals. Audio monitoring, it has an alarms events log too, so you can go back through the log and check out what the alarms were for any given trigger. So let's go through them one by one. First of all, it has a little protective screen cover as well. I'm not going to take that off, I don't see the point in that. So you have 4 key buttons here, 1, 2, 3, 4. The bottom one is to turn it on, so you press and hold. And you'll see it turn on like that. And the up and down arrows will allow you to go through the different functions, including the settings and some more information about the device. And of course, if you want to select any of those, you just press OK, and then to go back, you press clear. So we're going to go into it one by one. Monitoring mode, I'm going to press OK. It asks me if I want to select the time. Presumably that's for the benefit of the log. I'm going to say no, and it's now going to, it says background storage. I think that's resetting or rebooting the device. So let me explain, whilst it does that, what monitoring mode is. Now, according to the manufacturer, it provides continuous monitoring of detected analog and radio signals in an automatic mode, which sets an alarm in case of a threat radio signal, which is basically a signal exceeding any preset threshold. And it also monitors in cases when the primary signal or the signal source has not yet been activated. In other words, it can act as a form of a radio frequency analyzer, which some operatives or companies will set up at the beginning of a sweep. Now, not to go into that side of things too much, but what typically happens with companies that do use radio frequency analyzers is they'll set it up, and it comes sometimes in the form of a device attached to a laptop. And once it's turned on, they will then refer back to the graph or the data throughout the duration of the sweep to see if there have been any signals that have come up during that period. And this is what this does, although the thing that this does in addition to that is it will set, and you can set a threshold basically and tell it that if a signal comes over a certain threshold, you know, please let me know, in other words, and it will set an alarm, and then it will notify the user of the device that actually there has been a very temporary signal or a prolonged signal exceeding that threshold, and therefore you should be notified of it. So here we go, it's setting an alarm now, and it's because of a Bluetooth. That's probably coming from my watch, my Apple Watch here. And as it stands, you can press OK and go through the different functions. So at the moment it's showing that there's a Wi-Fi signal that's coming from the signal within the building. And in essence, you would have this set to one side, monitoring the radio frequencies within a property whilst you conduct your other forms of searching, i.e. radio frequency detection, specifically close-up radio frequency detection, or covert camera detection, thermal imagery, etc, etc. This is very good for that. Like I said before, usually a radio frequency analyzer will come in a relatively big form, i.e. the size of a laptop hooked up to a receiving device. So this is very good for that, given the size of it. To get out of the monitoring, you simply need to press the C button, which I assume is for clear. And I'm going to click yes, I want to exit monitoring. And then it brings you back to the main menu. And the second option is sweep. So I'm going to press OK. And according to the manufacturer, sweep mode is used for detection of analog and digital radio signals of all types. This mode allows the user to review all detected signals regardless of their level. So basically, this will show every signal that's being received within the property. So as you'll see there, we've got one that's 88.6 megahertz, and we're going to go down and look to see what it is we're receiving here. Okay, GSM signals, that's from a mobile telephone, 2.4 gigahertz. That bandwidth is Wi-Fi. So we know what they are here. It's just a continuous way of monitoring what's going on, and it's quite specific. But what it doesn't do, it doesn't act as an analyzer in that it doesn't notify you of anything that passes a set threshold that you would like to be notified for. So whilst this will record a log, it doesn't. It's somewhat different to the monitoring mode. I hope that makes sense. So given the size of the device, that is actually a very good feature. And it would be particularly useful in an environment whereby you're able to isolate all radio frequency signals. It's not very good or useful in a city environment, because I'm not at this point sure what the range is for this. So I can't adjust the range of it. I can't set it to minimum, medium or high. It's just set to a standard setting, which I'm not entirely sure at this stage what that is. But let's come out of that now. To do that, again, we press the C button. So just going to quickly go into the search mode. The search mode is to be utilized when, or as if you were using a typical radio frequency device, in that you're searching the walls, you're searching the units within the room. If you can imagine the units that typically have aerials, this of course does have an aerial built in, but it's much, much smaller than what you would normally expect to find. So this is going to be detecting signals now that are only approximately, I assume, somewhere between 50 centimeters and 150 centimeters, maybe 1.5 meters away, or something around that, making it a typical radio frequency detection device. This doesn't have the ability to adjust the range settings on it, but I assume that when you put into search mode, it's changing from being able to detect within a relatively wide area to a relatively small area, because this is detecting signals that are only relatively close by to it, according to the manufacturer. So what you're getting now is the 2.4 gigahertz is coming from my personal hotspot on my phone, I think. So that's the broadband or Wi-Fi range. And you're getting also 88.6, which is wideband. So that could be something else. Actually, to be honest, at this point, I'm not actually sure what that is. So we could look into that further to identify what it is or where it's coming from. Could be something to do with my Apple Watch though, to be honest, but it would require further investigation. But the point is, this is where you use it, the search mode, as a typical radio frequency device where you would search, section by section within a property. So I'm going to press clear to go back. So now I'm going to go down to the different search mode, and this is quite good, but let me read to you, this is why I got a little bit confused with this. Let me read to you what the manufacturers say about it before I go into it. The different search mode is used for detection and localization of analog transmitters. This mode has its advantage in case the transmitter is located in the same room. Differential search mode, so that's again differential, not difference. So don't know if that's a spelling mistake but we'll go past that. Differential search mode, I assume it means different search mode, utilizes both light and sound indication of the relative signal level. And it goes on to say, in this mode, the device defines the relative level of the signal, its difference with the reference spectrum that was fixed at the beginning of the operation in this mode. The closer to the source of the radio signal located in the room, the higher its signal level in comparison with the outside radio transmitter. The RF detector selectively reacts to the change of level, thus enabling to locate the radio transmitter at a higher rate. I think that's been translated from a different language, and not because it doesn't completely make sense, but because there are a few grammatical errors within it. But the point is that in essence, when you go into it, it's much more simpler to establish what it is that it does. So I'm going to go into it, and it does a bit of a booting up here. And what you'll see are the signals it is detecting, obviously. So I'm going to press OK. And it goes into an audio demodulation mode as well. So if I click on OK again, that's what the sound is. Alright, so I'm going to go up and down, which doesn't do much at that time. So it's telling me there's a signal nearby, okay. It's an analog signal. I'm going to switch it to the demodulator mode. And I've turned it right up so you can hear it. The volume controls are these arrows here. And I'm going to press OK to take it back. What it's doing there, the demodulator is a very useful function to have. The reason being is because if there's an audio or video continuous type device within a property, that will play the sound through this device. In other words, if there was a device of that nature within the property, I would be able to hear it through that speaker. So let me go back again. Quite useful to have, and if you were searching a room, you might want to have that for a period of time to see if there was any such device within a room. You'd be able to hear yourself talking or whistling or whatever else you do within the property. So very useful function to have, and it's made a lot simpler when you utilize the device rather than referring to the instructions, although I wouldn't discourage you from referring to them entirely. So gonna go to the C button. Digital signals, the detection of digital signals allows you to monitor digital signals only within the property. So it's pretty straightforward. It's picking them up slowly. So it's just picked up Wi-Fi. I don't know why it hasn't picked up GSM yet. I'm going to do a proximity test with my phone, see if that changes. Here we go. I'm just placing a phone call there, and the digital signal did come up, and it's dropped off again as soon as I ended the call. So it is working. Okay, go back from that. Let's go down and take a look at the log. So it's created a log. I didn't set the time or date at the beginning of the product demonstration, as you'll see, but it has got a log telling us what is detected, at what time, and for how long, which is absolutely amazing. And of course you can change the settings and languages and everything else. Now let me say this device is absolutely tiny. It is very, very effective. It can act as a radio frequency analyzer, it can act as a radio frequency detector, it can act as an alarm, it can tell you when it's a signal has been detected past a certain threshold. It has a lot of settings. Best place to buy it from at this point is Sekotech, Sekotech. I'm going to put a link in at the end of the video. It is very, very useful. If I'm being honest with you, when I first received it, I was a bit surprised at how small it was, and my initial reaction was, you know, this isn't going to be a great device. But actually referring to the manufacturer's instructions and specifications and then utilizing it myself, it is actually extremely useful for what it is, and I would never disregard it again. And I've learned a lesson here myself, that don't judge a device in this day and age by its size, because you know the software within and you know its functionalities are pretty good for the price of it. Now, it's not the best product on the market, but if you look at the cost and service or functionality sort of scale, I would say that this is actually extremely good. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Once again, I've said it a couple of times now, but thank you, Romanos from Secotech, for sending this device. I'm very, very grateful. And if you have any questions, please comment on the section below this video, and I will be sure to get back to you within 24 hours. I always do my best to respond within 24 hours if I can. If I'm not traveling, I will definitely do that. Thanks for watching, and I will speak to you soon. Bosh.